Welcome back to another NBA Sesh. Avi, how's it going?
It's going really well.
Does it feel so good to be back?
It feels like it's definitely NBA season is upon us, and I'm excited to get into it again.
Same here. I'm very excited, and I have a lot of questions, though. I have a lot of questions going into the NBA season, and for some weird reason, the one that bothers me the most is the James Harden dilemma. What is going on with James Harden? Okay. The Philadelphia 76ers promised they trade him. He agreed not to. He agreed to option into his final year, his player option, with the promise that he'll be traded. Then he
Right.
calls out Daryl Morey for being a liar. And I understand the frustration. I understand that he kept his end of the bargain. And perhaps the Philadelphia organization is getting greedy. They don't want just anything. They consider James Harden a superstar, and they want a king's ransom just to get him on that other team. Do you think he's going to get traded before the season starts?
Well, based on what he did in Houston when he showed up out of shape and he got traded, what was it, like a month into the season, or was it like a couple weeks?
It was definitely I think it was, oh, you know what? He did play for them a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah, but he was out of shape. He was a distraction.
yeah. So if they and Daryl Morey was also on the Houston Rockets as a GM.
I think so. I don't even think he was anymore. No.
So from that, they should learn from the past, and they should definitely train him before. But there's only one team he wants to go to,
Which is what?
the Clippers.
Really? Well, the Clippers don't have anything.
Well, they what Sixers want, they don't want to give up.
And the Clippers don't even want to give all that up.
Terrence Mann, and I guess other and picks.
I don't understand the Clippers because that team is just done. They have no assets. They have a often injured Paul George. They have an arguably uh, career-ended has-been player Kawhi Leonard, and that's it. They have nothing going for them. I don't know why. And then Russell Westbrook stayed, right?
Yeah.
But come on, Russell Westbrook himself is not what he used to be. I think that they should just pull the trigger on James Harden, and he's definitely gonna give that team a little bit of a boost. There are plenty of teams I think James Harden would do well. The problem with him is his bloated contract and the concern that it's only for 1 year, so that maybe they don't want to give up way too much. And he's on the decline. What is he, 34 already?
Well, I'm sure that he'll sign an extension for them if he gets traded there, and I'm sure he would play for other teams. But what you said earlier, Philly wants too much, and people realize James Harden is
Just not that guy
not who he
anymore.
used to be.
Just not that guy.
Yeah.
And you know what? If I'm the Knicks, right? Like I'm a Knicks fan. We're both Knicks fans. Do I even want him on the Knicks? No, because I feel like he's kind of a point guard, shooting guard, right? We already have Jalen Brunson. This is Jalen Brunson's team now. And I'd rather keep Quentin Grimes and RJ Barrett. And I feel like he's going to affect that, you know.
Oh, for sure.
So, and Josh Hart and all them. So I wouldn't want him on the Knicks. But even if I would want him on the Knicks, I wouldn't want to give up many assets. I think maybe one first round pick, maybe a couple of second rounders, and then like one player. I just don't see James Harden being worth as much as he used to be worth. But hey, good luck to James Harden. I hope he lands where he wants. You wanted to add to that?
Yeah, so I think the reason why they're not actually making that official trade yet is because whether they will send him to the Clippers or not, it's because then you have that whole question of what is going to be with Joel Embiid. 'Cause they're not going to get players back that will actually help Embiid go to, past the first round. Yeah, they have Tyrese Maxey, but then what's next? So they're probably also thinking, do we blow it up, trade Embiid as well, or do we try to just put a team around him temporarily until we get more help in the next season? And with James Harden, with Daryl Morey, with him calling Daryl Morey a liar, he probably told him like, "Look, I'll give you X amount of money in the off season, take a little less now, whatever, from last year or when he came to Philly." But he was so bad in the playoffs that Daryl Morey's like, it's either my career or risk, being called a liar and tarnishing my name a little bit with him. So obviously he had to go with saving his career potentially.
I believe James Harden. I believe that James Harden was promised something, or maybe there was a misunderstanding. But there's always a fine line of that misunderstanding. Oh, I didn't say it exactly this way. I do believe James Harden, but I also understand Daryl Morey's position, because who knows? Maybe he did promise him something. Maybe the higher ups in Philly said, "Don't you dare, don't you dare," or "It's your ass," right? So maybe Daryl Morey just doesn't want to lose his job, and like you said, it was worth for him to have it. It was worth that confrontation. It was worth for him to get called out. He gets to keep his job, and it'll blow over eventually. That's what he's probably thinking. But this whole trade thing is getting crazy because we have Dame Lillard, right? He wants to go to Miami, of all the teams, and he's so like adamant about not going anywhere else. He says either he stays in Portland or he's going to Miami. But I think that Portland owes it to Dame Lillard. He was loyal all these years. He never once mentioned trade talks. He gave up his best years to that organization. And let's face it, they were never going anywhere. They were never a real competitor, especially in the West. I think they owe it to Dame Lillard to trade him to Miami and take back the little assets that they're being offered. And they just drafted somebody at number 3. At the end of the day, it's like, do what's right for the player who was loyal to you and stop being selfish thinking you want a king's ransom for Dame Lillard. What do you say about that?
Well, they kind of rewarded him by giving them that Supermax extension.
Okay. Okay. You know what? I feel like you made a really great point. Okay. But let's face it, he would have gotten that money anywhere he went. So is that really that much of a special gesture?
Well, he wouldn't have got that much because he Supermax is only, you have to be on the same team for a certain amount of years to be qualified.
Look, that's a great argument. They could say, yeah, you were loyal. That's why we gave you all this money. And wherever you do end up going, when you end up going, you'll still be getting that money. You make a good point. But still, I think Miami, like, what is Miami offering? Do you even know for Dame?
Yeah, I think they're offering that rookie that they got, and he has potential. I think they're offering a couple picks. They might be offering
Trade swap.
Yeah, and pick swaps, and I think they're also offering
Pick swaps. I mean, yeah.
They're all Tyler Hero, and I heard they don't want to give up Caleb Martin, who was a pivotal role player for them. But I feel like if I'm Miami, I would give him up because.
Well, you have to be careful with that attitude because they lost Gabe Vincent. Who else did they lose? I think they lost another key player in their nice run to the finals.
Yeah, I think they did. You're right.
There's another guy. Forget his name. You reminded me of like a Gabe Vincent. Forget his name, but I think he was a very important piece. And yeah, now they have Tyler Hero, but they're going to have to give up Tyler Hero also, right? So if they give up that other role player, it's, they're giving up so much.
Exactly.
But you're right. I think you have the chance to get Dame Lillard, And I think that Portland should ask for a third team to get in on this because what are they going to do with Tyler Hero? He's not going to be a star for them. Tyler Hero should go to a competitor team where he's going to be a nice complementary piece to that team, but not part of a rebuilding young team. He's not going to be the future of any team. Like, he's not going to be the guy.
But what other teams could Dame Lillard go to that he could help them like go to the next level?
So I bet you if the New York Knicks didn't have Jalen Brunson, he'd probably consider New York because we have, the Knicks have the assets to get him. But I'm glad that we're not in that position because I don't want to give up a king's ransom just to have him on our team.
No, but what teams though right now do you think that don't have a point guard that could use Dame Lillard?
Well, if they
And
get a 3-team trade deal involved, perhaps they could offer him to Dallas and then somehow get Kyrie to go to the Lakers and then whatever, I think that's a possibility. Like, I don't think Portland's going to want, what's his name? D'Angelo Russell. Or then you can get fourth teams involved. I'm sure there's someone who's going to want D'Angelo Russell. You get Kyrie on the Lakers, you get Dame to the Mavericks. I think that would be a great complementary piece to Luka. I think together they do well. Dame seems like he could play with a guy like Luka. I would like that experiment. I would like to see what happens with that. So Dallas is one team, Miami is another. I don't want to say San Antonio because even though they got the best player in the draft and he's arguably going to be the next face of the NBA, he's still so young for such an older Dame Lillard. So I'm going to skip on.
yeah, there's just no other team that I could think of that could use that. If Dame Lillard gets on that team, he's gonna take them to, deep into the playoffs.
I mean, another team that comes to mind is the Clippers, right? Because I don't want to rely on Russell Westbrook. But again, the Clippers don't have the assets.
Exactly.
And Golden State Warriors, Dame Lillard already said that he'd rather never win anything than go there. So, that's out. Perhaps the Sacramento Kings, but then you have De'Aaron Fox.
Exactly. Or the Timberwolves.
You know what? Yeah, I like the Timberwolves. Anthony Edwards is. You think Anthony Edwards is the next face of the NBA? Remember that? Remember you said that?
I do think so. Yeah, I think he's gonna be one of the best players in the league. I think when it's all said and done, he's gonna be a top 5 shooting guard in the NBA.
You know what? If you told me that before the season, during last year or before the season that ended, I would be like, Anthony Edwards? I don't think so. To me, it was always either Ja Morant or Luka Doncic, but I'll tell you this. I do not believe in any of them anymore. Ja Morant it's not about his talent. It's about his off-court shenanigans. I think he's just a silly, silly man.
He's also like an Iverson.
He screwed up once, fine, I get it. But then he does it again. It's, come on, Ja Morant, what are you thinking? And then Luka, I don't know. I'm starting to lose faith in Luka. Like, don't get me wrong. Luka is a top player. He's amazing. But I thought he could be the next face. He can't be. I feel like defensively, he's just not that good.
Exactly.
He has a hard time playing with other stars. I get it. Kyrie is the way he is, but come on. Going from the 4th seed to the 11th, come on.
Well, when I say also face in the NBA, like when Jordan was in the league, right? He was obviously the face, but you had tons of other great players, right? Larry Bird.
Well, Larry Bird
was really older.
So Larry Bird and Magic Johnson were the faces of the NBA during the 80s. They were both like the faces of the NBA. I think they're the ones that actually made the NBA relevant again because the NBA had issues. Michael Jordan comes in, he becomes the face of the NBA. Then you had Kobe Bryant for a while being the face of the NBA because he was like a Jordan 2.0.
And during Kobe's
time. And then it was LeBron James.
And during Kobe's time, there was other great players there, right? Like, who was, like, let's say, the second best player besides for LeBron?
Well, you always had somebody like Tim Duncan. He has 5 championships.
Right.
But Tim Duncan was not a flashy player. He just kept a low profile, and he was more about the organization, more about team ball than being like the franchise guy with all the commercials and the this and the that. And that's what I always wanted for the Knicks. I'm tired of flashy players. Like, we had Carmelo Anthony. He was a flashy player, and where did that get us? Nowhere. So I'm kind of jealous, low key, of the Spurs organization because I think they've done a wonderful job all these years, and now they drafted this guy. What's his name?
Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah, I have no doubt they're going to build a championship team around him one day.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So what's it called? I think you're right, though. I think before this guy has an opportunity, I think Anthony Edwards has the potential to be the next face of the NBA because I love his winning attitude. You know, in Team USA, he was asked to come off the bench, and he said that Dwayne Wade had to do it. And he's like, yes, but Dwayne Wade had a Kobe Bryant on the team. We don't have a Kobe Bryant. So I like his attitude. He's basically insinuating that he's like the best out there. And I like that. I like that attitude. And I feel like I wish RJ Barrett had some of that attitude. My problem with RJ Barrett is it's not that he's not talented. I know he's talented. I just feel like he doesn't have that aggressive, I'm the man kind of a mentality. And I think you need that. That's part of what makes somebody the best. Talent is great. You can have all the talent you want in the world. That's fine. But if you don't have the right mentality, that's what's going to get you. So I love Anthony Edwards' mentality, and that's why I agree with you. I think he has a huge potential to be the next face of the NBA.
Yeah, exactly. Especially what he was saying in the press conference. I forgot when it was, but he was saying how he wants to guard the best player in the opposing team. He's got strong defense. He's obviously he's very talented offensively. He doesn't like when players rest. Like, he speaks all about that, and the way he speaks and articulates it as a 21 or 22-year-old, it's impressive. And like, when I say also face the NBA, some people say, well, like you said, Luka, but when LeBron was the face of the NBA, right? We still had Steph Curry. We still have Durant, right? Those guys are not technically the face because you can only have one face in the NBA, right?
Right.
They're still really good. It's not like they're not good. Even Curry, as good and like different as Curry is, it was still LeBron. There's always that one guy. And Luka, first of all, he's European, so I don't think a European player could ever kind of be the face.
Why not? It's possible. And I think it's possible because Luka was very young when he came in. Now, another European player that's amazing, he just won a championship, Jokic. But Jokic, I think, is a little too old, right, to be considered to be the next face of the NBA. He's already at his peak at this point.
Yeah.
And I think, like, he got drafted in the second round. Well, center, yeah, it's tough to be like a center. I mean,
like Shaq. Well, was Shaq really ever the face?
I don't think he was the face.
Exactly. I feel like because a guy like Anthony Edwards, like Kobe, like LeBron, like Jordan, they're all also very exciting to watch.
Right.
Because they're very dynamic and
that's why Wemby, what's his name on San Antonio? Wemby. I don't think he's actually going to be the face of the NBA because the Spurs they're not that kind of an organization. Yeah. And it's so weird how he ended up there because judging a book by its cover, when you look at him, he looks like such a Spurs player.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it was almost like planned that this is going to happen.
And he's European too.
He is European?
Yeah.
From where?
He's from France.
Anthony Edwards, fantastic player. Speaking of free agency and Europeans, I want to talk about two foreign players that are superstars that are also on trade watch. Joel Embiid, he's foreign, right? Yeah, he's foreign. Yeah. And then Giannis. Now, speaking of James Harden, he's inevitably going to get traded. Depends for who. I highly doubt they're going to get a high caliber player in return.
Right,
James Harden. Which means it's almost definite that Joel Embiid's out of there. He's not going to want to play by himself. He's had enough. Trust the process. Yeah, okay, trust the process. Philly screwed up on that one. The best they can do is get whatever they can for James Harden and then really cash in on Joel Embiid. My problem, though, as a Knicks fan, because they're monitoring both, that They want Joel Embiid or Giannis. I'd rather have Giannis. Giannis has also been hinting hardcore that he
Oh
wants
yeah,
to leave Milwaukee. But
big time.
Giannis is in a better position than Joel Embiid because Giannis at least gave them a championship. So they can't be mad. They can't be mad, and they kind of have to respect his wishes if he wants to go. Um, the thing is that I'm afraid that James Harden will get traded first, and then the Knicks are going to have to get Joel Embiid because time's a ticking. I just don't know if I'd rather, Giannis is a solid player. Joel Embiid is injury prone. I like the guy, but he's injury prone. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Well, here's a crazy idea, and I know that non-Nick fans are probably gonna laugh at me for this, but what if Embiid and Giannis both come to the Knicks?
Will they be able to coexist?
Well, Embiid's definitely gonna have to take a step back, and we're gonna have to definitely lose RJ Barrett,
Well,
which would be sad.
I don't want to give up on RJ Barrett just yet. I want to give him that one more year to see what he can do for us. Because if you remember, Giannis also took a while to become a star. Nobody thought he's going to be a star. He got drafted in the deep first round in the 20s, I think. And, okay, yeah, a great prospect. And then I remember there was this huge hype, ironically, for he was drafted number 2, Jabari Parker. They were saying, yeah, he's the next Carmelo Anthony. Oh my God, oh my God. Next thing you know, he's a bust, and Giannis becomes the star of the team, which is interesting. I believe in RJ Barrett, but it's like, look, if you have the chance to get Joel Embiid and Giannis to play with Jalen Brunson and all those guys, how are you going to say no? So I guess I'd be for it. But again, I'm just tired of trading for stars. I want homegrown.
Yeah, but I think if we could get both of those guys, but RJ Barrett to have to go, I would definitely do that.
I know.
I would take that. I think
I'd
that's
be
a good risk to
happy
take.
and disappointed at the same time.
Yeah, I think it's a good risk to take because we'll probably end up seeing Barrett on another team really playing well and becoming a star, but he could definitely do it on the Knicks.
So,
and I think Giannis will come to the Knicks.
There's a guy named Bill Simmons, I think. He has a podcast. He's a Celtics fan.
Used to be on ESPN.
Yeah. So Bill Simmons is not a Knick lover. If anything, he's not fond of the Knicks. But he even said the Knicks are going to get a star for sure. There's, and it's interesting because if he had the chance to bash on the Knicks, he would, and he would say like nobody's going to go there. For a while, the Knicks had that reputation. In the past, the Mecca, we want to go. But ever since the Carmelo trade, it was a disaster. It was such a terrible and toxic organization. Nobody wanted to go there. It was like a laughingstock. And thank God they turned the organization around. It took some time, and I'm glad they did it right. So now stars do want to go there, especially when you have pieces like Jalen Brunson. Because at one point during the Miami series, it was not the Knicks versus the Heat. It was Jalen Brunson versus the Miami Heat. That's what it felt like. He played literally he played the whole game. It was incredible.
Yeah, he was the only guy that actually played well. Randall clocked out again. Barrett had a bad game.
Randall had his moments.
But you said, though, that Randall changed his agent?
So, Julius Randle left his agency, I think CAA, which was heavily linked to the Knicks. They had a great relationship with the Knicks. That doesn't mean he wants to leave the Knicks, but...
Why did he leave, though?
Exactly. It's a strong indicator. Maybe he's indirectly saying, I'm done with New York. I want to go.
There's definitely something going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. Because I think Embiid... I think... Well, what's the GM's name right now? The Knicks.
Leon Rose.
Leon Rose.
President.
Yeah. I think he was representing Embiid at one point. So they have that link, and that's why people are speculating that Embiid might come to the Knicks. But I would love to see. I'd rather have Giannis, of course, just because I think he'd be a stronger fit. And Embiid also, he kind of choked in that last game with Harden, in the last series. So
But if I have the choice between Embiid and Julius Randle to play with Brunson in playoff games, I would pick Embiid. A healthy Embiid, I'd pick him. And you know what? I think we're ready to move on from Randle. I don't mind giving him up. We're going to have to give him up because of salaries. And he's not going to be able to coexist with certain guys like that, Embiid or Giannis. I'm grateful to Randle. He made the Knicks relevant again, but he just couldn't quite get them to the next level, and that's why I'm ready to move on. But I still love and thank Julius Randle for his services.
But you know who I would love to get on the Knicks right now, since that he's technically available? Buddy Hield. And I always wanted Buddy Hield to come on to the Knicks because Indiana and Buddy Hield can't agree on a contract extension, so they basically agreed to trade him. But he would be a perfect fit because he's that strong 3-point shooter and scorer that we really desperately need, and he's consistent at it too. But I don't think it's gonna happen.
So we're not going to be able to get Buddy Hield. It doesn't even make sense for us because, first of all, we gave out too many big contracts. Okay. We just gave Josh Hart an extension.
Oh, yeah.
There's no room for him to play. You have Josh Hart and you have Quentin Grimes.
You have to trade one of them, yeah.
You know, I don't want to get rid of any of them. They're great players. I believe in Quentin Grimes. Buddy Hield's nice, but we don't need him. And he's going to want to play a lot. I think the team is already... That's why Obi Toppin left. He wasn't getting enough minutes. And you think bringing Buddy Hield is going to solve anything?
But those are one of that's a big missing piece we had is hitting shots. And the Knicks couldn't do that versus Miami.
Well, now we have DiVincenzo, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to help.
You're right. I forgot about him. He might improve. I mean, he's not like a score like Buddy Hield is, but yeah, he might improve.
Let's face it, we're going to need a star unless RJ Barrett has a breakout season and he becomes the next Giannis, but for the Knicks.
I mean, Giannis is definitely more bullish on leaving just from the comments he's making. It's obvious. You know, like he's looking at the team right now and he sees that his team is not going to get to championship level in the season after. Maybe this season they could still compete, but they're number one, they're all locked in on long-term contracts. They're starting to age more. Middleton didn't even play last season, last playoff series they had because of injury. Drew Holiday is not going to play as well as he did. He played above and beyond expectations, and they have no assets to trade. So I think that they're really not in good shape for the future. And Giannis sees that, and he's like, you know what? I gave him, I brought a championship to Milwaukee, so I did my part, and now it's time for me to go to elsewhere and win more.
And to play for a bigger market.
Exactly. I don't blame him.
Yeah, I don't blame him either. Although there is a charm for players to just stay in one team their whole career, right? Like Reggie Miller did that, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan. I don't think the Wizards counts because it's not like he asked for a trade. He came out of retirement for that.
Dirk Nowitzki stayed. He won
Nowitzki. So I like when a player stays. But speaking of trades, and I want to give a quick shout out to one of our fans, Isaac. All right. He asked us to talk about a couple of these next topics. Let's start with Ben Simmons, the future of Ben Simmons. First of all, I want to mention that Ben Simmons had a tweet about faking, like through a Photoshop. And at first I'm like, oh, okay. Like, you know, people fake that stuff. Like the Kardashians, for example. A lot of their pictures are Photoshopped. But take a look at this photo. Doesn't this picture look ridiculous? It is obvious he's not that big.
Yeah, that's ridiculous, man.
Like, come on.
What are you thinking?
And I don't know what is going on. Talk about a bust. This guy was supposed to be the next LeBron James. This guy could have been the next face of the NBA.
This guy came in and get a good
He was
graphic designer.
This guy was like Magic Johnson, a really tall point guard that could have also played power forward. And he seemed fine in the first few seasons, but now, even when everybody left in Brooklyn, when Kyrie and KD left, even him alone over there, he couldn't do anything. And then now there's talks of him coming back. He wants to come back to Philly. Are you kidding me? After he made such a fuss that's it.
He really said that? He wants to come to Philly?
That's the rumor.
Why would he want to go back?
I don't know.
Are you sure that's a real rumor?
You know what? Let me check. Because I think I'm not even surprised he said that. Let's see. Ben Simmons.
I don't think he would say
Philly
that, bro.
return.
Unless he's just trolling. He hasn't even done anything on the Nets yet.
Yeah, he's open to. Yeah, he calls Philly a second home, and he's open to come back to Philly. After he put up the same fuss that Kawhi Leonard put up when he wanted to leave the Spurs. That's it. The relationship is damaged. I want nothing to do with you. And all of a sudden, he wants to go back out of nowhere. I think something's off with this guy. I don't know.
This guy's delusional, man.
I don't know. It's a shame. It's a real shame.
And again, he says that this season he's gonna have a comeback and he's gonna be better,
He said that
stronger.
a million times already.
No, that's why. I don't know. Do you think he's done? Like, do you think he will have a decent comeback season? Or
I think he's going to become one of those players that are good to have. They could be a starter. They could be off the bench. But I don't think they'll be the guy. I think they're going to be like a nice fourth option, maybe third option to a good team. I don't think he's going to be that good anymore. It's not about his talent. It's about his mentality, his mindset. Something's off.
How many All-Star games did he have?
I don't know. What do you think about Jalen Brunson's $300 million contract? Because
Jalen Brown.
I said Brunson. Sorry. Jaylen Brown. So Jaylen Brown, we're both Jaylen Brown fans. We think he's
I'm a big fan.
Fantastic player. However, let's face it, as good as he is, he's not Giannis, right? He's not Joel Embiid. So how do you feel about him getting that $300 million contract? Didn't he break a record? Is he the first player to get that?
Yeah, and it's gonna keep getting bigger because of the Supermax extension. So first of all,
and inflation, all that, right?
Yeah, you said he's not Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid, I would definitely not give him that kind of money. I would rather have Jalen Brunson on my team.
All right, fine.
Even though, so I'm really big on Jaylen Brown, and I think even like in our last, I made a video or like
plenty
in
of videos
podcast
saying he's great.
The thing with that is, it's like that is a lot of money for a guy that's still not fully hasn't fully developed his product yet. And he's like, what, 26, maybe 27?
But I think he's as good as he's going to get. I don't think he can get better.
I think he could get a lot better because some of his shortcomings are his dribbling, his ball control. He sometimes goes too crazy with that and gets high turnover rates. So he could definitely improve, but I think they still have to fix that issue they have with the one-on-one basketball, where they don't know how to share the ball the right way. And maybe if Brogdon will actually come back now.
They need a new coach, probably.
Maybe they need a new coach or something, because I don't see how the only way that they could get better is if they just have that natural improvement as players improve season over season. That's the only way they'll get better. But this money is like, they really have no choice, because what would they do then? They would have to trade him to lose him to him to free agency.
I agree with you 150%. They had no choice. First of all, they had no choice because, okay, if not him, then who? And I think he's good. And, he just broke a record, but eventually everybody's going to get that kind of money anyway. So it's not like it's because he's so good. It's because now this is the market and he just happened to be the first one. I think the Celtics are dumb, not for keeping Jaylen Brown, but for trading Marcus Smart and getting Porzingis, who, by the way, already got injured.
Yeah, well, that's funny that you brought that up. Were you gonna say something
And
else?
I think I've mentioned that in another podcast, and if not, I'm happy to mention it now. I love Porzingis. They did a bad job bringing him on. Injury prone. I'm sorry. This guy's just, and he's already what? Also like 26. You're telling me it's just going to get better for it's not going to get better for Porzingis.
Well, I think players could improve when they're still in their mid-20s. They could really improve on certain aspects of their game.
But
Porzingis is injury prone, so it's like look, they signed Gallo the year before, right? He got injured. He was out for the whole season.
yeah, and you know, Marcus Smart was just the heart and soul of that team. He was like the man that cleaned up the messes. And you got rid of him for Porzingis. Fine, bring in Porzingis, but don't get rid of Marcus Smart.
Well, it's funny. I'm glad you brought that up because I actually read a while back. Like I forget exactly what he said, but who's the current president of the Celtics?
Not Danny Ainge.
Brad Stevens.
Brad Stevens, yeah.
So he was saying the reason why they actually traded Smart was because Smart was that obvious leader, and they wanted to trade him to have, I think, Tatum or Brown become that like actual leader. That they wanted them to take over.
But here's the thing.
And they had to get rid of Smart to let them grow more.
I think that's BS. I think that's BS, and I'll tell you why. Okay. It shouldn't be because somebody's in the way and then somebody's not letting that person grow. Because let's look at Kobe Bryant and Shaq. Okay? Kobe Bryant was drafted number 13. He wasn't nobody thought he'd be like the man. They just thought he's going to be a good player, a good complementary piece. And Shaq was supposed to be the face of the Lakers. Kobe wanted no part of that. He showed everybody who he is, what he's all about, and he took over that team from Shaq. Yeah, Shaq won the finals MVP 3 times while they were together. But, you know, it was really hard to say who was the man of that team because they were both so dominant. But Kobe didn't let that get in his way. He refused to take a back seat. And that's part of the basketball mentality that I love about Kobe Bryant. So when you tell me RJ Barrett, you have, Julius Randle in his way, or you have, what's it called? Who are we just talking about? Oh, Marcus Smart is in Jason Tatum's way, or Jason Tatum is in Jaylen Brown's way. That's all BS. Look at Anthony Edwards. He doesn't care because this is supposed to be Karl Anthony Towns' team. When he took over that team, he didn't care. He says, "This is my team now." So that's all mentality. Okay, so don't give me that. I don't want to hear it. And I'm calling out RJ Barrett too. I don't care. Out of respect, this and that. You want the team, take it. It's yours. Jalen Brunson came in to the Knicks. He took over. He didn't ask anybody.
You're definitely right. I think there's certain aspects where it's hard to just kind of take over the team especially if you're not that fully developed yet, especially on a team with Tibbs. But you're definitely right about what you said about Marcus Smart. That's why I'm not betting on this combo of Tatum and Jaylen Brown to win a championship because I feel like every team there's always that one guy that's the obvious the head of the team. Like you said, it was Kobe with Shaq, it was Kobe. Jordan, Pippen, obviously Jordan. You know, LeBron. You could always name one guy that's the main guy, and the next guy is still really, really good, but he's just not that on that level. And with Tatum, so people will say obviously Tatum is better than Brown, and I agree. But I think Brown has the potential to be just as good or better, and I think that's
what you mean by that.
Yeah, they're two of the kind of the same player. And they both want to have that spotlight. So I think that's what's going to get in their way. And no matter how much they try to share the ball or, have a good ball distributor, it's just not going to work.
Speaking of Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan, by the way, when Scottie Pippen came in, he wanted to take over the Bulls. He had that mentality. He thought he was better than Michael Jordan. He wanted to be better than Michael Jordan. But Michael Jordan showed him otherwise. So Michael Jordan overpowered him. But at least he had that mentality. At least he wanted it. At least he tried.
But he complimented him so well, too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, listen, people are saying that Scottie Pippen was the best second player in the league behind Michael Jordan.
Right.
But anyway, speaking of free agency, if we're going to continue, DeAndre Ayton. Well, this is not necessarily free agency, but it's an off-season move. But DeAndre Ayton, I think the Suns have no cap room, correct? So they want to move him. Because, they kept him, they matched his salary against the Pacers. It was the Pacers he signed with? The offer sheet, Ayton?
Yeah.
Yeah, they only kept him because they knew they'd lose him for nothing. So they thought, let's give it one more go. And if not, we'll trade him. So I wonder where Aiden's going to end up because, I think Aiden's a little overrated. I don't think he's that good. So where is he going?
What team he's going to?
Mm-hmm.
That's a good question. It's really up in the air because I think, what the Suns need to do is trade Aiden for some solid role players. And where he's going to end up, I think we're only going to know by the trade deadline.
I have a good recommendation.
Where?
I think this would help both parties, Aiden and the team.
Let me hear it.
Guess who I'm going to pick.
The Mavericks?
No. The Spurs. I think, because I heard Aiden's kind of lazy. I think that culture, that winning culture, with that new exciting rookie coming in, and Aiden's fairly young. He's not too young, but he's fairly young, and he's kind of a veteran. I think they can help save each other. I think it would be great for the Spurs, and I think it would be amazing for DeAndre Ayton. What do you think?
I don't know if they need him there. Maybe the Nets.
I don't know. I have a problem with the Nets in a way. Like, I just don't. They have assets as far as picks and stuff, but right now they don't have any player that I'm like, okay, this guy's going to take him somewhere.
Bridges.
I don't think he's going to be that guy. He's a great piece to have.
Well,
I don't think he's a guy you build around.
I think that. I think it's too soon to say. He definitely played exceptionally well, and you could definitely put some good pieces around them to help them get to the next level. So I think this season will be just kind of like Jalen Brunson. Everyone's saying that Brunson is a very high IQ, all-star point guard, and he's also like he's not one of those flashy, super fast point guards that come out of college and like kind of like a Scoot Henderson or a De'Aaron Fox. He really had to earn his like respect and name, and he became that guy. And I think Bridges is also going to be like that. And Bridges is actually also a great two-way player, but we'll see. There's actually one story I want to bring up.
Go ahead.
So I think it was today. T-Mac was sharing a story how when he got traded to the Knicks. And he was saying how he looked around, he looked on the roster. They had Al Harrington, David Lee. I think they got
Eddie House,
who's kind of whack. Did they have Gallo or no?
At the time?
No. What am I saying?
Maybe.
Gallo was traded to the
No,
Nuggets.
but Gallo got drafted in 2008, the same year Derrick Rose got drafted. Was that 2008?
They had Jeffrey still on the team, I think.
No, what am I saying? Was it 2008? I don't remember. Okay, so what's your point?
So the point is, like, he was like, yeah, we could make the playoffs. Like he was thinking like that. And then when he mentioned that to Al Harrington laughed in his face.
Hmm. I don't like his mentality.
So then obviously they didn't make the playoffs.
It's because of that mentality.
But and then after he says like, yeah, it's not only that, it's the organization. It just like he saw why, he understood why Al Harrington laughed in his face, and that's why they didn't make the playoffs. And while he said he made some good friends from the team and from the inside the organization, it was not a good experience for him. So the point is, yeah, it reminded me of what you were saying earlier about Anthony Edwards and having a strong mentality, but also it's it comes from the top, I guess. But how are you gonna just already assume you're just like assume you're not gonna make the playoffs? Like, yeah, haha, it's you're playing for what then? Just for fun?
Yeah. Yeah. I see I see what you're saying, and I hate that bad mentality. Speaking of frustration, we mentioned how we're frustrated with Ben Simmons. I have another player I'm frustrated because he's showing off a picture. Take a look. This is real. I believe this is real and not Photoshop. Zion Williamson. He got jacked. Cool. But what does that even mean? Was it ever a problem that he wasn't in shape that way? It was just that he was overweight and his knees couldn't handle it.
Well, that is a problem.
So, what do you think? So I'm not as frustrated with him. I feel like there's still hope for Zion Williamson, not like Ben Simmons. But what do you think? Do you think he's going to turn his career around and this is going to be the year of dominance? Because when we spoke about the face of the NBA, he was supposed to be the next LeBron. He was supposed to be the next face of the NBA.
Well, I don't know if he even wants to be on that team, and I think that's why he's not giving his all. He got paid that super extension, and he kind of sucked it up, or he said, "I'm going to take the money and then try to get my way out of the
But you see,
Pelicans."
I hate that again. It's such a Gen Z entitled, mentality. Look at Paul Pierce, for example. He was a Laker fan. He didn't want to go to Boston. He got drafted by Boston. He played. He got them a championship. And
Who's this?
Paul Pierce. Okay, listen, you got drafted by a team. Play. Give it all. Give it your best. And they gave you a super max.
Well, they have Ingram. They have a pretty decent roster.
Exactly. I get it. It's not exactly where you want it to end up, but make it your own. Make that a relevant franchise. You had that opportunity. I don't understand. Okay, whatever.
When he plays, he's unstoppable, I think. And I'm actually looking forward to seeing him play again. I hope he does play.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you though, and this is a little outdated, but I can't believe we were even talking about it. Who's better overall point guard, Magic Johnson or Steph Curry? This is what people were talking about. Steph Curry says that he's the best, but then, it's good to compare him to Magic Johnson. For me, Steph Curry was always in my third overall team of all time. I thought Oscar Robertson was better as a point guard. Fine, the conversation now is Steph Curry, Magic Johnson. First of all, I think it's too soon to speak about that. I think first Steph Curry needs to retire. Then we assess, then we discuss.
Why?
Why? Because he still has a lot of basketball left.
He
Maybe.
can only get better from there. He's still at his prime, at his peak.
So you think
And he's already what, 34?
So you
That's
think
amazing.
he's better than Magic Johnson?
What did I say before? I would say yes.
So I will say this. It's interesting because a lot of older people will say, no way, Magic Johnson, and a lot of younger people will say, yeah, Steph Curry, Steph Curry. To be fair, Magic Johnson was always my top choice, but now that we're like looking into this again, Steph Curry did single-handedly revolutionize the NBA.
That's
That's
exactly what I was
very
thinking.
impressive.
Yep.
And then I'm going to say, fine, he's a scorer. He's an amazing scorer. But yeah, that's a skill. And it's not like he was low on assists. Steph Curry was always good on assists. I don't know. Magic has 5 rings. Steph has 4. Magic played in a tougher league. Would
That's
Steph
true.
Curry be able to play in the 80s and the 90s with that kind of tough? Do you think they'd let him shoot the way they're letting him shoot now? Because now there's so many regulations. I don't know.
I mean, they're letting him shoot because the game has just evolved into more 3-point shooting. So there's more spacing now. There's so and because of he's such a good shooter and the amount of 3-point shots he takes, he just kind of forces evolution on the game. But I think the difference is also that yeah, he makes his teammates better. He is obviously
Magic also made his teammates better.
yeah, he could play defense when he wants to. And you're right. It is maybe still too early because even though he's still, I think, at the top of his game, we have to see where it goes. He could still win another 2 rings. Like I think Golden State as a team, they have Chris Paul now.
It's not looking good.
Klay Thompson, I don't know. He's definitely not what he used to be, and he's not gonna come back to that former self unless he just like becomes a solid 3-and-D guy, and that's it. But they'll need more to cover for what they're losing with him.
I'm sorry, but I don't think the Warriors, with their current roster, has what it takes to go to the finals. I think the Denver Nuggets are going to go through them. And then you have other rising teams. Speaking of,
1 second. Didn't Magic Johnson win without Kareem?
I'm not sure. I really have to look into that because
I think he won. I think
I was
Kareem got
born
injured
in 1986.
I'm
I haven't
pretty-
really watched back then.
I'm pretty sure Kareem got injured and Magic won. And it is a tougher league back then. There's no doubt about it.
I think I will give this to Steph Curry, where, first of all, just by him saying that he's the best and he should be compared to Magic, I respect him enough to even think twice. You know, if like Patrick Beverly said that, he'd be like, come on, man. You know, if Russell Westbrook said that, I would have been like, nah, you're not better than Magic Johnson. But Steph Curry, it's worth taking another look. And I think we do need him to retire first before we officially say who's the better point guard. But he's right. He should be up there in the conversation. And I think that perhaps he might even be better than Oscar Robertson. I think he probably is. So we can even move him up to my second overall team, put Oscar in the third, and then compare him to Magic to see who's the better one. But he has to retire first. I don't think we're ready to discuss that.
I'll agree with you.
And speaking of who's going to make it where, who are your teams to make the playoffs in the West and the East?
Who are my teams? In order or not in order?
No, not in order.
All right, not in order. So East to make it to the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
All right, the Knicks, obviously. Knicks, Celtics. This is not in order. I feel like I always forget the teams when I have to do this.
Well, I'm looking at the teams now on my phone.
All right, so the Knicks, Celtics, the Heat, the Hawks. What else we got on there?
You have Orlando, Charlotte, Washington, Nets, Philly, Toronto, Milwaukee, Chicago,
Milwaukee.
Indiana, Detroit, Cleveland.
You know what? The reason why I'm not including Philly is because I'm anticipating a blow up. But it's actually, I feel like the East got even worse now.
Well, that depends where they go, Harden and Embiid.
I think the question is, you could list your teams, but the question is, what teams are going to improve and what new teams are going to get into the playoffs?
All
I
right,
think Orlando has a really nice shot. I like
don't know.
Orlando.
Maybe.
Oh, we forgot to mention how the James Harden could end up on the Houston Rockets
Yeah, but why?
because he claimed he might go back there. I don't know, and now they
Why would the
legitimate-
Rockets want him? If I'm the Rockets, I wouldn't want him.
'cause Kevin Porter Jr. is pretty much done. He got in trouble with the law. Yes.
Well, I guess
assaulted
James
his
Harden
girlfriend.
can cooperate with that young team, complement that young team. However, he's not going to win anything with them. James Harden.
That's true.
But you said that he only wanted to play for the Clippers.
Well, that was his target team, but he did mention himself earlier that he might go back to the Rockets for some reason. There's no way he could carry that team to victory. There's no way. I think not even like a prime James Harden could do that.
So, how about the? Do you want to give me your picks for the East, the West?
Yeah, so not in any order. Golden State Warriors, Lakers. Let me look at the.
All right.
You give for the
So
the
I'm going to
East.
give for the East. In my opinion, I believe Milwaukee, Cleveland. This is assuming that Giannis doesn't get traded, which I don't even think he will. Milwaukee, Cleveland, Indiana, New York, Boston, Miami. For now, I'm going to say Philly because nobody was traded yet. And after that, I guess I would pick the Hawks. However, if Philly blows up their team, in their place, I would probably put the Boston Celtics. What am I saying? The Brooklyn Nets. I already said Celtics. For the West, if Ja Morant, I don't know. You know what? They've been playing well without Ja Morant. I remember. So
Marcus Smart is there now.
I'm gonna put Memphis. Nuggets, Oklahoma, No, hold on.
Thunder?
Warriors. Yeah, I'm putting the Thunder in there.
Interesting.
Warriors, Kings, Lakers, Phoenix. If Dallas makes a trade, they can end up there. But if they don't, I would put the Clippers or the Utah Jazz, and I'm probably going to pick the Clippers.
So Dallas is not under?
No, not the way they are now.
Wow, you're with Kyrie Irving as starting off.
What do you mean? With Kyrie Irving, they were number 4 and they went to number 11. So
Yeah,
no.
but he got traded mid-season. So all right,
No, that's all BS, man. Stop with the excuses.
all right. So these are my picks, starting from the East. All right, not in any order, obviously. The Hawks, the Magic, the Heat. No, I'm sorry. Not. Let me restart. The Hawks, the Miami Heat, uh, the Sixers, and you're right. As of now, the Sixers, the Knicks, the Celtics, the Bucks, the Bulls, and the Cavs. So the only new team is I think those are all the same teams from last
Oh,
season.
because did you mention Brooklyn?
Did I? No. Because also the Bulls might also make a
They're gonna have to make trades.
they're gonna yeah, so but I did mention them. So instead of the Bulls, I'm gonna take out the Bulls. Because wait, did they make the playoffs?
No.
Who made the playoffs last year?
Brooklyn was there, but only because of Kyrie and KD. And then when they left, they kind of just maintained their spot.
Yeah, but I think that Brooklyn will keep that spot.
I don't think they're gonna keep it. I think they might make the playoffs, but not that spot. Probably like
Well,
number
yeah,
8,
yeah,
number 7.
no, sorry. I mean they're gonna make the playoffs. The Wizards are definitely not. Hornets, no. Maybe the Pacers. I think the Pacers have a good shot.
I mentioned the Pacers.
Okay, for the West, the Grizzlies, the Mavericks, um, the Pelicans, the Nuggets, the Timberwolves, the Warriors, Lakers, and Suns. Oh, but there's also playing.
How about Sacramento?
There's also playing. So how
Forget
many?
about playing. How about the Kings?
Well, listen, there's no room.
Dude, the Kings were number 2, I think, last year. They were up there. Are you kidding me? It's
So
not like they barely made the playoffs. How are you going to rule out the Kings?
you're right. Let me do this again. Last time. So the Suns, Lakers, Kings, Warriors, uh, Timberwolves, Nuggets, Grizzlies, and I'll say Clippers,
So you're going to rule out.
Mavericks.
Oh, so now you're going to rule out Mavericks and OKC?
Yeah, it's gonna be tough.
All right. Do you think there's any teams that are going to tank intentionally?
Probably the Bulls. Depends on the next picks.
Yeah. And again, this was actually requested by our fan Isaac to talk about who's potentially going to tank. I think in the East, it seems like it's going to be Chicago, especially if they make some trades, which they should and they will. And I think in the West, it'll probably be the Utah Jazz because they made a nice little run last year. But I think they're going to want to, tank and get higher picks and trade Mardikin. How do you say his name?
Markin.
market and whatever. Yeah.
He's playing really well.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to trade him for a lot of assets. I don't think they're going to keep him. He's not somebody you could build around. He's already a veteran, like in his late 20s, I think. So, and yeah.
Yeah, who did you say in the East?
I actually put in the Pacers in the East.
You think they're gonna tank?
Oh, to tank. No. In the East, I said Chicago.
In the West, Utah.
Yeah.
Yeah, see that.
Maybe Toronto in the East. Now, the final question I have for the night. Is it fair to say world champion to the NBA championship team? The world champions. Because there's been a debate. They're saying this is an American sport. Why are we saying world champions? What do you think? I know what I think, but I'll let you say it first.
Well, what's the alternative? The American champion?
Well, no, there is no
National champion?
alternative. It's just saying, is it fair to say world champions or it's not? Yeah, I guess okay, fine. The American champions or just the.
Either way, yeah, I know it doesn't. It doesn't make sense, but either way, if the top players of the NBA went to play, for the FIBA World Cup, then America would win. So regardless, it would still be world champions.
So I agree. I understand what they mean because world champions is like when different countries play each other. USA versus Canada, Spain versus whatever. I get that. But the reason why I think it's okay to say world champion for the NBA is because the best players in the world come to the NBA, even from other countries. They come to the NBA and they compete in the NBA.
That's true. Very true.
I don't want to hear it that sometimes other teams beat Team USA, but that's because Team USA doesn't always have our best. They don't always have our best. So if all the best players in the world are coming to the United States to compete in the NBA, yes, I think it's safe to say world champions. Because if you take any NBA, like the best NBA teams, to compete against the best teams in other countries, I think the NBA teams would smoke them.
And also, I forgot who said this. I think it was JJ Redick or one of them. On the opposing team, when you're playing in FIBA, those guys are playing like the best that they could play. They're playing like on Jordan mode, and like what's his name from the German team, Dennis Schroeder. He was playing great. Guys, they don't play like that in the NBA when they're in the league. But when you have guys like Anthony Edwards and other really good players on the team, they don't play to their maximum levels because number one, they're not playing. They're not getting the ball in their hands all the time. And the other guy, like Schroeder and whoever else who's actually in the NBA, they're getting the ball in their hands all the time. They have more freedom to do whatever they want. And they feel like they're a much better player and they have that confidence. And that's why they perform so much better than a guy on the other team who's actually in the NBA and who's actually is a better player than him.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And I think a few reasons. Number one, maybe they're afraid to play too hard to get injured. They don't want to ruin their chances in the NBA for something like, Team USA. That's a possibility. Another possibility is that they might disrespect their opponents in the world, thinking, we got this. We're the best players in the world, That's possible too. And yeah, it's kind of a struggle. It's kind of like an all-star game. You have a lot of talent and they have to learn how to adjust because they're the man on their teams in the NBA, but then suddenly they're not the man anymore. And there's egos involved. So it's very important when you assemble a Team USA, you have to make sure you get an amazing coach who can control these egos. And one name comes to mind from the 90s was Phil Jackson. He was good at that. I don't know about now. Like, who's good at that now? But it's very important to have the right coaches. So, but you made some really good points. And other than that, I feel like we're done for the night. So, anything else you want to add?
Nope.
Okay. All right, Avi. So we'll see you later. And we'll see you later until next time.